Greetings, my fellow freedom cyber thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date, Tuesday, February 27th, 2018. Yeah, I'm in this area called Stash, like a 1920s den, coffee shop slash bar. They do have a cool little facility here. Not too bad at all. It's in the heart of downtown, along with the Jansen, with Revolution Live and America's Backyard. Yeah, cool folks here. 3J Group runs it, and of course, if you're familiar with Revolution Live, they filmed Rock of Ages, okay, with Tom Cruise. That whole rock and roll thing actually was filmed in that facility and out here as well. So it is a landmark when you think about it in the Church of Hollywood, to be exact. Well, so I noticed, read a little article about Sheriff Ken Mascara from St. Lucie County wants to do restrictions on firearms for like long rifles, AR-15s, to make it 21, but that should be the gun shop owners and clerks' discretion. I guess he needs to start learning about Operation Gladio, because looks like there's a second shooter, which a lot of us has questioned, and possibly is being exposed. And I'd like to thank Dan Dix from Press for Truth and many others, and the teacher from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School talked about it on Good Morning America. So I'm going to add this to the footnotes on that video. You can make your own judgment. But the official narrative is crumbling at their feet. This is why I find it very discouraging when they want to say it's our freedoms that got into this mess. Time and time again. And of course, Scott Israel's on the hot seat. Everyone's calling him out. And I seen a video from Judge Neem Farrow. I think I talked about that yesterday. Like I said, I'm not a fan of hers, but she hit it right out of the ballpark. 100% spot on. Hey, I can have my disagreements with certain folks, but if they're right, I'm with them side by side on responsibility and negligence. Hopefully it's not the case if there's another Operation Gladio move that happened at that high school. And all those folks out there are victims of Orwellian snowflakes because they're buying the hype, the hoopla, and have the sweet pie pure bros attributes, which is dangerous. That's why I'm real critical on totalitarian steps. And I haven't taken anything back about Scott Israel, calling him a treasonous individual. Hopefully, if I'm mistaken, that's how far I'll go in good faith. But based on what I learned about him so far for a good period of time, almost 10 years, 9.5, 10 years, when he first ran for sheriff. He lost the first time. Well, I'm going to be talking about that in an article called Forward. Pretty good stuff about from the Jewish community website. And it says here how Sheriff Scott Israel went from hero to lightning rod by adding pink. And it came out today. Let's check it out here. Broward County Sheriff Israel emerged from the school shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, a hero for his passionate pleas that lawmakers empower police and doctors to put people in mental hospitals on the basis of violent social media posts. The Jewish community knew him as someone who was proud of both to be Jewish. He quotes the Talmud and is admired by local rabbis. Now, Israel 61 is on a defensive as questions are raised about how he handled the shooting. Florida Governor Rick Scott announced Sunday that the State Department of Law Enforcement would be investigating the sheriff's office handling of the case. Here's what you need to know about Sheriff Scott Israel. He and his department have been heavily criticized for cowardice and for missing warning signs. The officer assigned to Stoneman Douglas, Deputy Scott Peterson, resigned after it was revealed that he waited outside the building for at least 4 minutes after the alleged shooter, Nicholas Cruz, started firing. Instead of charging into the building per protocol, Israel said he had begun initiating termination proceedings when Peterson resigned. Understand everything wasn't done perfectly, Israel said on Sunday. I do believe as Scott Peterson went into the building, there was a chance he could have neutralized the killer and saved lives. Yes, I believe that. Police officers in neighboring Coral Springs told local TV station that other Broward County Sheriff members were outside the building after the shooting was over. Even when members of other departments went in to clear the facility and evacuate injured and traumatized students, Israel said Sunday that his department planned to speak with Coral Springs officers as part of its investigation. 2 other deputies are reportedly under investigation for failing to properly handle repeated warnings about Cruz, as many as 45, according to BuzzFeed News. He had a personal connection to the school. Shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School, which killed 17 people and injured dozens more, hit Israel particularly closely. Israel lived in Parkland for many years, and his triplets all attended the school. They played on the football team under Coach Aaron Weiss, who was killed in the shooting. It was especially shocking that the shooting took place in Parkland, which was named Florida's safest city last year. Ah, yes. So something to look at. He's an active in the Jewish community. Israel has been open about his Jewish identity and is known to frequently quote the Bible and Talmud in official speeches. He proclaimed in a 2016 campaign, "My Jewish faith is an essential part of my entire life." My late father, Sonny Israel, fought in the Korean War and became a police officer because he believed in the call from the Talmud, "Whoever saves one's life as an entire world." Those words guided my brother and I as we also became police officers. The flyer also said. Israel said in a 2016 interview that he attends Shabbat in Parkland from time to time, as well as other local synagogues. He does not formally belong to anyone. Shabbat of Parkland's director of outreach development, Rabbi Shui Biston, told the Forward that Israel is a very visible member of the community and that he has attended Jewish community events on the holidays like Yom Kippur and Hanukkah. Sheriff Scott Israel has been a friend of the Jewish community, Biston said. He explained that Israel personally ensured that the medical examiner expedited the release of Jewish victims' bodies so they could be buried as soon as possible, per Jewish custom, and checked in with Biston to make sure everything was on track. Israel also has made visits to victims' families who are sitting Shiva, observing a week-long period of mourning, because it's a three-day tradition. Yes, just according to Judaic faith. So I could say that. Biston said whenever an issue involving the Jewish community arose, from investigating anti-Semitic graffiti to ensuring that Jewish inmates have kosher food, Israel was incredibly receptive. He calls me, Biston said. He doesn't send someone to call me. He calls me. We only have good things to say about him through our interacting with him over the years. Israel's wife, Susan Israel, is Christian. The 3 children were all bar mitzvah. He's trying to defend his department's performance. In an interview with CNN on Sunday, Israel admitted that that 2 on those calls were not sure if our deputies did everything they could have or should have, but he otherwise defended his department, knowing that many of the calls or his officers' inquiries did not lead to enough evidence to allow any legal arrests or detentions. After the shooting, Israel called for law enforcement allowing officers to detain citizens without a warrant for posting things on social media that could indicate future violence. Appearing on NBC's Tuesday on Monday, Israel was pressed on his calls the department received last November that described Cruz as someone who could be a school shooter in the making. Israel replied, "An investigation is ongoing. What we're looking into is did the deputy follow up? Did he send it over? Indications at this point are that he did not." A Republican state legislature has already demanded his resignation, which Israeli Democrat dismissed as politically biased in an interview on Sunday with CNN's Jake Tapper. Israel defended what he has called amazing leadership of his department. Do you think if the Broward Sheriff's Office had done things differently, this shooting might not have happened? Tapper asked. Listen, if ifs and buts were not candy and nuts, O.J. Simpson would still be in the record books. Israel responded. That's some defense mechanism, I would say. I did not know what that means. Tapper replied. There are 17 dead people, and there's a whole thing. There's a lot of things your department could have been done differently. He's a long-time gun control advocate. That's what I say. He contradicts his faith on this. I'll say this and I'll say that respectfully. Israel has been an outspoken advocate for more gun control measures opposing open carry licenses and concealed weapons permits, according to South Florida Sun Sentinel. So he believes the police are obligated to protect you. That's why I have contempt for this man. And as far as I'm concerned, that's not Judaic. That's anti-Judaism. Okay, I will point that out, and I'm not being anti-Semitic as well. His official biography proclaimed that Israel also stands out in the law enforcement community for his local support for tougher gun control laws and need to equip all uniformed deputies with body cameras. With this impressive record, it is no surprise Israel is often the most progressive and successful sheriff. Broward County is truly safer and more united as a result of his dynamic leadership. Sorry to hear about that. Like, body cameras is nice and all that. I know he has compassion with the homeless, which is good. I'm not going to crucify him for that. But when he starts going cheerleading about more tougher gun laws, that's why I call out that man. I'm highly critical of that particular topic. So I'm going to continue on here. This is not the first time he's been a center of controversy. Israel's handling of his apartment has been subject to questioning in the local media for some time. Sun Sentinel report last year that the Sheriff's Department internal report of his handling and shooting at the local airport showed that the department erred from the very beginning, controlling in the shooting scene in the baggage claim of Terminal 2, where 5 people died and 6 others were wounded. The report claimed that the department's malfunctioning radio system forced officers to improvise and may have led to miscommunications. Israel has also tied to veteran political operative Roger Stone, who has bragged of dirty tricks conducted for Richard Nixon, Donald Trump, among others. Stone supported Israel's 2012 election campaign. After that, the sheriff's office hired Stone as co-author, publicist, and longtime assistant. To all you Roger Stone fans, got to be paying attention to this as well. Though Adeline Pink, he has his good points in here too. I'm not going to crucify the person. He's just laying down the facts. But when it comes to your natural rights, he's against it. All right? That man don't believe you defending your families and friends, loved ones, innocent people. I say it time and time again. The police aren't obligated to protect you as an individual. That's the question I'd like to ask Scott Israel personally. Can he prove that? Guarantee you one thing. No can do. Wong versus the city of Miami proves that. The case that happened in 1970. I meant to add that to the footnotes as well. A couple of things. And there's even another claim from Dan Dix about a possible second shooter, or an all full body, like police state, riot gear, helmet, steel bulletproof vest, etc., and wearing a mask, spraying people. So I'm going to add those to the memo for sure, and I'm going to make that happen. This is why I get a little bit ticked off with some of these clowns. Say he's Jewish by faith. But I'm going to add on here too. No guns for Jews. That's like I uploaded on my email account. It was done by JPFO, and how Jews believe many of the Jews in the community believe we should be unarmed. That's one of the areas we need to focus on, and it is being anti-Judaic. That's why I call individuals like Scott Israel on those actions a Gino, Jew or Judaic in name only, a jack-lantern. But he's just an example. That's why I'm hot-headed on this. And of course, him witch hunting National Rifle Association and gun owners, biggest mistake. He's trying to learn from the Adolf Hitler playbook, blaming the Jews for the collapse of the Weimar Republic of Germany. That's what he's doing. He's emulating that in his own pathetic rhetoric. So I'm going to add that. I want to add here too from Glenn Kennedy, Sheriff Israel exposed, Roger Stone got elected, boom. And there's a little interview by Stu Webb and Tom Hannigan. A lot of stuff on the man. They call him the Jew Nazi, and even the video about him taking dirty money, which is actually from WPLG Channel 10, and of course the EMT was told to stand down. Says they could have saved lives. Is from Channel 7 News SVN, which I'm not crazy, but you know what? At least they got the audacity to make this happen. And Conservative Daily Post posted this. And, of course, Reason.blog. Sheriff Israel says, you're a sheep and he's a lion. I go wipe my rear end with that rhetoric because he's my servant. I'm not his master. He's only a master baiter based on his exhibition. And there was an accusation, a claim, that she had to get an abortion of Israel's child because she didn't know he was married when she was 17. How accurate is that? I don't know. Of course, Urim Isaac, and why should we care? He was actually did fund it. Scott Israel's campaign in North Miami. He lived in North Miami. So, and Channel 10 did a report on it, and he was convicted of tax evasion. So, and of course, there's a Roger Stone with a tattoo of Richard Nixon. It talks about how Roger Stone got him elected from the Sun Sentinel. So this is all not conspiracy sites, but just interesting news articles that you have to put that out there as well. And so I'm gonna be right back. So stay tuned. All right, pretty cool. Sorry about that. And next one here, little quote from Bob Lewison's Alert. Gun rights and mental health restrictions, a slippery slope, by Brandon Smith. In the wake of the Parkland shooting, as in wake of many shootings, there has been a scramble by various political groups to blame for the violence, to place blame for the violence. Everyone's looking for the source of the evil that causes these events, to little avail in most cases, at least when it comes to extreme left. The blame is placed squarely on guns themselves. This is obviously an absurd notion. Placing blame on a particular tool used in the crime does not solve the problem of the criminal and what led him to the deed. Whatever or not the tool made this crime easier is relevant to the greater problem at hand. After years of debate and failed legislation, leftists have discovered that resistance to the criminal destruction of the Second Amendment is insurmountable, and a change in narrative has occurred. Finally, we are talking more about the mental health issues and less about guns. This is a win for gun rights. However, there's a danger that needs to be addressed. First, while mental health is being presented in the mainstream media more and more as central issue in active shooter, I find it interesting that the problem of psychotropic pharmaceuticals have been conveniently ignored. In a large number of non-terrorist-related shootings, assailants have been subject to long-term psychotropic drug use. Why it has factored and had not been addressed. Well, consider the fact that Big Pharma has spent at least $2.5 billion over the past 10 years lobbying in Washington, D.C., compared to this NRA lobbying budget, which is comparison of partly $20 million over the past 10 years, according to Open Secret. OpenSecret.org. Wow. That tells you something, my friend. How come they're not going after Big Pharma? Witch hunting fetish. And they all bent over for their daddies. You know what I'm saying? This should be into perspective the idiocy of anti-gun advocates and their obsession with the nefarious NRA. The influence of the pharmaceutical industry is almost universally ignored when it comes to debate on gun violence, yet their lobbying effort dwarfs all others. All this despite the fact that psychotropic drugs are proven to influence violence in even homicidal behavior in people. Second, the focus on mental health in terms of the Parkland shooting seems to be glossy over the vast failings of the FBI and local law enforcement in following up an investigation of dozens of warnings received by Nicholas Cruz. As I outlined my recent article, mass shootings will never negate the need for gun rights. Gun grabbers love to trot out legislation on increased background check restrictions and closing gun-to-gun show loophole. Yet, none of their suggested solutions will have stopped the Parkland tragedy from taking place. The success of Nicholas Cruz's attack was due to abject failure of the FBI and law enforcement, not the failure of the background checks. They have done their had they done their jobs, Cruz have never been able to purchase a firearm to begin with. I find it rather ironic that gun grabbers constantly argue average citizens do not need guns for self-defense because they have law enforcement to rely on. Yet, what exactly is the stupidity of law enforcement that opened the door wide for Cruz to kill? Clearly, the so-called authorities are not trustworthy enough to carry out the job of protecting us from all active shooters. The only capable of stopping an active shooter in a fast, practical manner are armed citizens on the scene at the moment the attack begins. Third, and most important, is the issue on mental health parameters and how they will use to restrict gun rights. The ATF already has rules regarding people adjudicated as mentally health defective, which includes people ruled a danger to themselves and others by the court, board, or commission, or other lawful authority. Now, these guidelines themselves can be rather broad, but abused by government so far has been limited, though some instances have been egregious. If the Trump administration seeks to broaden the guidelines even further, then we may have a problem. Take, for example, the unacceptable abuse of military veterans and their Second Amendment rights by the Bureau of Veteran Affairs. The VA has in recent years placed restrictions on thousands of veterans in recent years to gain their gun rights without due process and without oversight. All of this has been predicated on a claim that some veterans are mentally defective, based on dubious parameters, including whether or not they let their spouse handle household finances. This is what I'm talking about when I bring up the dangers behind mental illness and gun rights. WHO, which is the World Health Organization, gets to decide who is mentally ill and why they are mentally ill. Well, this is done by a jury, by our peers, or by an accountable and faceless bureaucracy. Will the guidelines for mental illness be strict and specific, or will it be broad and wide open to interpretation? Once the person has been labeled mentally defective, they have the ability to appeal the decision, or will label to haunt them for the rest of their lives. Gun rights activists should not put blind faith in the Trump administration to ensure that mental health legislation will remain fair to the Second Amendment. Unfortunately, Trump is on record supporting the no-fly list gun control bill. Yeah. Yep. So, you hear that, Trump supporters? You better be paying attention, damn it. This bill is something liberty activists oppose vehemently under the Obama administration because it allows the government to erase the gun rights of almost anyone without due process by merely placing them on an arbitrary watch list, a list that will remind the readers that is a matter of national security and not the subject to public overview. Would a list of mentally defective people fall under the same Orwellian standards? What about the new and disturbing designation by a psychiatric community of the oppositional defiance disorder? This absurd illness is being applied to people as young as preschool ages, suggests that adults with the illness often display resistance to authority figures in government. What if your opposition is not authority in general, but to corrupt authority specifically? Is this the illness for every epitome of sanity? In the communist Soviet Union, it was too common for government to abuse mental illness designations as a means to silence and imprison political dissent. Any government agitation and propaganda were criminalized under the Soviet legal codes, and these codes were frequently applied in conjunction with the psychiatric system. This was sometimes referred as punitive medicine. The problem with the government and psychiatric institutions joining forces to determine constitutional rights for individuals should be obvious. Government should be as separate from the medical establishment as possible, yet they are often intertwined to a terrible effect if the illness is not adjudicated by a jury of one's peers with extreme oversight by gun rights groups. Then Abuse of such laws by government is almost guaranteed. The temptation to use backdoor bureaucracy in a totalitarian manner to underhandedly confiscate guns and sabotage the Second Amendment will be high. And don't say the Ninth Amendment and natural born rights. I'll just let you know that for sure. It is important to remember that even when you have placed full and blind faith in the Trump administration, there are no guarantees that the constitutional rules will be allowed to bend today that will completely be broken by the next president in line. Gun rights are paramount to a free society. Without them, government almost always referred to increased socialism and tyranny creep. While violent crime continues and or increases as citizenry is left defenseless. Mental illness and psychotropic drugs need to be taken seriously in terms of gun violence, but it's also so vital that we do not allow the issues of mental health to be exploited as a subversive means to undermine our freedoms. Absolutely. And there's a site, I think it's called SSRI Cases. I'm going to look this up right now as we speak. You think you're gonna leave the hand security eggs of the bureaucrats on this ordeal? That is one dangerous thing. They can assume fast track on a fast track basis. You are mentally incompetent. You can't do this. You can't do that. You want nannies? You want someone to wipe your own rear end? That's what comes down to it, my friends. That's one of the areas you gotta really pay attention to. Don't follow the hype. Don't think Donald Trump's going to save our Constitution. Well, he supports the no-fly list right there. He's a hypocrite. If that's the case. The man could be another bobblehead. That's why I don't follow the hype, the hoopla, and go, I'm a patriot. I support Donald Trump. You got to be vigilant. One thing about government, my friends, control the mind. That's why you got to always be careful what you wish for. And that's one of the areas I always say. Better start paying attention. SSRI Stories.org. I'm going to add this to the memo of the article because it is amazing. So definitely check this out about any depressant nightmares. And it gives you a big list of all the drugs. And like the one here, BBC's Paranormal Prescription for Murder. Florida agency investigating Nicholas Cruz after violent social media post. So let's give you a very good example, my friends, on SSRI cases. So definitely add that to the memo. All right. Do one more thing here. And it came from FloridaMarijuana.net. And it says here, breaking federal judge dismisses lawsuit against Jeff Sessions, full press release. And statement from Hiller PC on landmark lawsuit against Jeff Sessions as it pertains to constitutionality of cannabis under the Controlled Substance Act. Plaintiff vowed to appeal as judge dismisses federal cannabis lawsuit. And one of the areas you can say is one of the areas here, plaintiff's long. BC led the counsel, gives you a whole rundown on this about the Sessions case. Trying to be one of those areas that 10th Amendment, like he's made a claim on here. Yeah, I'm going to read this. What the hell? Not that bad. Okay, it says here in New York today, Judge Alvin K. Hellstrom of the U.S. District Court of Southern District of New York dismissed Washington CT Sessions case. Lawsuit challenged the constitutionality schedule, classification of cannabis under the Controlled Substance Act. The plaintiffs, along Miller PC lead counsel attorneys Michael St. S. Miller and co-counsels Lauren A. Ruddock and Joseph Bondi, vowed to appeal the lawsuit. The plaintiffs in Washington, D.C., for the Sessions case includes Denver Broncos Super Bowl champion Marvin Washington, 12-year-old girl Alexis Bartel, 7-year-old jogger Cody of Georgia, who suffers Lee's disease, disabled veteran, military combat veteran Jose Bellin, and Cannabis Cultural Association, Inc. Hitler PC, a New York federal judge, dismissed the case brought by Marvin Washington, Alexis Bartow, and assortment of other plaintiffs seeking ruling on the classification of cannabis as Schedule 1 drug is unconstitutional. In dismissing the case, Judge Alvin Halcrin took pains to emphasize that the decision is not on the merits of the plaintiff's claims. Instead, Judge Hellerstein decides that the plaintiffs were first required to exhaust administrative remedies, an agency-driven administrative process during the petitions filed, and was decided by the DEA to reschedule cannabis. So how bureaucratic is that? Judge Hellerstein did not appear to address the plaintiff's arguments, as reflected in a recent filing that the petition administrative process generally consumes an average time 9 years to complete and is overseen by a biased decision-making. Defendant Jeff Sessions, who has the predetermined to reject the evidence before it was even been presented. Michael Hiller PC, led the counsel for the plaintiff, stated, resigned the plaintiffs to the petition administrative process is tantamount to a death sentence for those patients who need cannabis to live. The time has come for the courts to abandon the decades-old precedent, not towards obstacle legal technicalities, and catch up with modern science and contemporary principles of constitutional law. Lauren Ruddick, Hiller PC co-counsel for the plaintiffs, added that plaintiffs weren't only ones who experienced a setback today. State and principles of federalism took a black eye as well, under the false premise that the courts are constrained by prior decisions to take actions which the overwhelming majority of Americans, including members of Congress and the President, know are wrong. Joseph Bondi, co-counsel for the plaintiffs, commented, got a train coming by? Well, hold on. Happens all the time. Joseph Bondi, co-counsel for the plaintiffs, commented, we believe that the court did consider a number of arguments in our case and declined to hear oral arguments on some of those points. We are exploring all of our legal arguments to further our chance of winning the case. Miller concluded the case will continue to move forward, notwithstanding the outcome today. We remain confident that the final disposition of the case will include a finding of the classification of cannabis under the Controlled Substances Act is constitutional, freeing millions of Americans safely to treat their conditions with plant marijuana to help save lives. Well, that's why I always tell everyone this. We have the 10th Amendment. We can nullify. We can tell the federal government to stick it. Plus, another thing as well, the Phillips Papers 46, written by James Madison, said the same thing. That's why you don't have to go out and be cry about it. We can do it on the state and local level, which is happening, and we can go on jury nullification. So here's one thing for sure: if Jeff Sessions is going to raid these states or states that have recreational marijuana or medical marijuana, the governor could say, "Get the hell out of my state," and the sheriffs could say the same thing. But this one thing is one of the reasons why I'm real critical of sheriffs that are members of Homeland Security, because they compromise their right. They have to ask permission to go in their jurisdiction, not just waltz right in. So Jeff Sessions, if you still support it, do yourself a favor, step down, because you're breaching your oath of office. And this is one of the reasons I said to all my friends, and to you, chump, no victim, no crime. Plain and simple. All right? So you can look that up yourself. I posted on here enough times. And I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you want to say something that's interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondence with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Freedoms Network, Minds.com, FutureNet.club, Patreon.com/Loki Luck with 3 eyes all together. Or you hit me at Gab, gab.ai. That's more of a free speech version of Twitter. In addition, you can email me at LokiLuck3@gmail.com, or to encrypted ones, LokiLuck03@protonmail.com. All right, that's it. I thank everyone for listening once again. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. May your guardian spirits be with you.